In section 1.4, we talked about the exponent rule that says if you're given a quantity raised to an exponent, such as example 2 here, you take the exponent on the outside and distribute it to each of the bases on the inside. Now notice in number 2, my bases are 4 and W, and so my exponent on the outside is going to be distributed in to both of my bases. Now, in my work, my first base, which is 4, gets raised to the outside power, which is also 4. And my base W already has an exponent of 9, and my rule says that exponents get multiplied together, so that becomes a 9 times 4. Now this is my work, and you want to go ahead and simplify. 4 to the 4th power, or 4 caret 4, is 256. You drop the W down. 9 times 4 gives me an exponent of 36. And then you want to finish your answer by boxing it off. If you look at number 6, my bases are -4, R, and S. And so I'm going to distribute my outside exponent 3 times to each of those bases that I underlined. Okay. In my work, -4 has to have parentheses around it. It's going to be raised to the 4th power. My R already has an exponent of 6, so it's going to be 6 times 4. And my S has an exponent of 15, so that becomes 15 times 4. Once you have your work down, you can go ahead and simplify. So when you put this in your calculator, you want to do parentheses, -4 parentheses, caret 4, which is a positive 256. Bring over the R. 6 times 4 is 24. Bring down the S. 15 times 4 is 60. Okay, so once again, you distribute in the exponent. If there's already an exponent, they need multiplied together. If you look at number 10, I actually have to do 2 separate problems. I have to do this first problem and this second problem within the same thing. So here we go. I'm going to distribute the 3 to the first set of parentheses. My work is going to look like 4 to the 3rd power, x to the 2 times 3. That takes care of my first parenthesis. Now my second parenthesis, I have to distribute in this 4. So then it's going to be times 3 to the 4th power, x to the 6 times 4. I'm going to simplify both of them separately. 4 to the 3rd power is 64. X to the 2 times 3 is 6. Times 3 to the 4th power is 81. X to the 6 times 4 is 24. Now, if you left this answer like this, you're currently correct, but you're not finished yet. Because what you're going to notice is now this becomes a multiplication problem, where I have to use my exponent rules for when I'm multiplying things with the same base. And when that's the case, my coefficients get multiplied together, and my exponents to my variable, they get added. So it's going to be 64 times 81, x to the 6 plus 24. And then when you simplify 64 times 81, you get 5,184. X to the 6 plus 24 is 30. So once again, you had to basically do 3 things. You had to simplify each of those parentheses separately, and then you had to apply the multiplication rule. In number 14, we talked about in class, it asks us to find the area of each square below. And in order to find the area, you take the side and you raise it to the 2nd power. Okay, so notice here how my side is 14g to the 5th, h to the 9th. And if we raise it to the 2nd power, you want to simplify and go ahead and distribute that outside exponent to each of my bases. Distribute it to the 14, to the G, and to the H. Your work will look like 14 to the second power, G to the 5 times 2, H to the 9 times 2. And lastly, 14 caret 2 gives me 196. G to the 5 times 2 is 10. H to the 9 times 2 is 18. So if it ever asks you area of a square, you want to make sure that you raise whatever side it is to the second power. And then if we look over, I'm going to flip it over and do number 6. Okay. It wants you to express the volume of the following cube as a monomial. Now notice here, this is my side length, and my current side length is already being raised to a power. So I'm going to simplify that so that I have a little bit easier thing to work with. So when I simplify that, I get 4 to the second power, d to the 1 times 2, or 16d to the second power. Now this is my side length, and volume is equal to the side raised to the third power. So I'm going to take my side, which is 16d to the second power, and distribute in to each of my bases the exponent of 3. 16 gets raised to the third power. D has an exponent, so you have to multiply 2 times 3. And when you simplify, 16 to the third power is 4,096. D, 2 times 3 gives me 6, and that would be my final answer.